So if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you know that I use the AlexLoop all of the time. And it's probably my favorite portable antenna. Yeah, as I set up this morning, I know that there's a lot of different aspects of our ham radio hobby, and a lot of people enjoy different things about it. In case you didn't know, I enjoy operating CW. Big shocker if you've been on this channel, right? But that's really what I enjoy. You know, the gear is cool. I like radio gear, obviously. But to me, the gear is secondary. The gear is a tool for me to get to operate CW. So when I find gear that I really like, that suits me and lets me operate CW smoothly, and I get along well with said gear, then that gear becomes a keeper for me, and I use it over and over again. So, you know, the aspect that I really like is the art of CW. So there's a lot of things in our hobby, as a technical hobby, that are very technical. How a magloop antenna works, for example, as I'm setting up here. That's very technical. But CW, yeah, sure, technical to an extent, but CW is an art form. I'll stand by that. CW is an art form. It is, you know, it's kind of like a language, but really it's more like playing an instrument. You're communicating in English, and you're just using a different character set to do it. So it's kind of like if you learned to speak English through a piano. There's a bizarre thought for you. Now, don't be afraid by that. A CW key only, a paddle anyway, only has 2 keys. So, come on, it's not that bad. But, and I love the art of CW. But I love the musicality of it and the rhythm of it. And there's something about when you're just operating and you get to a point where your brain just starts sending the characters through the key without you really having to think through what you're sending. And it's just like your brain and the radio waves just kind of become one. That is such a bizarre thing to say. But if you operate CW long enough, you'll see what I'm talking about. And when that happens, it's almost like you take the middleware part of your brain that processes incoming and outgoing information, and you just shut it down for a minute. And it's like you connect just from the radio, the key, straight into your mind with that person on the other end. And man, it's just I don't really know how to explain it, but I'm telling you, if you get into it and do it long enough, and you get hooked on it, it's a lot of fun. It is very much therapeutic, and I highly recommend it. So, anyway, back to my original point. The gear to me is secondary. It's just a way for me to do it. So, why do I love magloop antennas? You know, there's not a lot of people that I've seen in the Parks on the Air community on YouTube that will do that really use magloops a lot. Now, one thing you'll see is there's a lot of people that review them once, often as part of a brand sponsorship. But what you don't see is people using them more than once. Let me tell you why I think that is. I think that magloops are very different than any other kind of antenna. Using them is different. The process of using them is different. in a lot of ways they're simpler. But in a lot of ways, it can feel more frustrating initially because they're so high Q. So that means if you change frequencies, you've got to retune your antenna. That you have to retune it often. And the little knob here that you tune the antenna with, it is highly, highly, highly sensitive. If you can feel the knob turn, you probably turned it too far when you're fine tuning. So I think a lot of people get frustrated with that because they try it once or twice and they're like, yeah, cool, okay, I got it to tune. Then they change frequencies and realize they have to tune it again. And it took them 10 minutes to get it to tune the first time because they were trying to like, and it's not that kind of knob. It's more like a, you know what I'm saying? It's a delicate thing. You gotta treat it with love. A magloop, it's not like a rough tool. You know, it deserves love. So, anyway, y'all, I don't know how you put up with me. I think a lot of people get frustrated though, because they just try it and they expect it to be like an antenna tuner where you just, and it's not like that. So, if you try one, my word of advice, be patient, use it a few times, and you'll get used to it. Like now, I can tune this thing, in a few seconds, no problem, because I've gotten the feel for it. So you have to get the feel for it before you can really be effective using it. But I will also say, I only have experience with the AlexLoop. This is the AlexLoop Walkcam, I think. Anyway, this is the only one I have experience with. I will not say all magloops are great. Sure, I know theoretically they're all the same concept. Variable capacitor, small loop, big loop. Okay, yeah, got it. But what I can say is that Alex has put an incredible amount of effort into making this a usable antenna. And I can tell you that he has succeeded. So are they expensive? Yeah, they're expensive. But I will say 100% it's worth it. Because I don't have to fool with it. I bring this antenna out of the bag. The whole thing fits in a bag with the tripod. I bring it out, set it up in a couple of minutes, and I know for a fact this thing will tune 40 through 6, or 40 through 10, every single time. They let me spend more time on the air, less time fighting the antenna. And again, the thing that I am into in this hobby is operating CW and the art of CW. What I am not into is fighting antennas. It's not my jam. So if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you know that I use the AlexLoop all of the time. And it's probably my favorite portable antenna. And let me tell you a couple of reasons why. First off, it comes in a nice carrying bag. The newer model actually has a backpack that holds a radio and everything. But this older model has a nice laptop bag size carrying case. You can fit some radios in there too. And it holds the antenna. It holds the tripod. This is the Vivitar tripod. It's the one that Alex originally recommended to use with this antenna. They're discontinued, but you can still find them pretty easily and cheap, like $10 kind of cheap. All fits in the bag. And I can set this antenna up in about 2 minutes flat, and it will tune 40 meters through 10 meters every single time. I have never had an instance where I could not get this antenna to tune on any of the bands 40 through 10 that I wanted to work. Other antennas, verticals, wire antennas, etc., are very picky about their surroundings. I personally don't want to have any kind of issues where I have to worry about being able to go to my favorite park, which is Tuskegee National Forest, as you probably know. And I don't want to be a nuisance to the park rangers or to anyone else. So my preference is to use a low impact setup that standalone and fits right here with me and does not disturb anybody, does not disturb the property, the trees, anything like that. And the AlexLoop certainly fits that bill. So it's kind of obvious that throwing rope in a tree is more invasive, if you will, than just a standalone setup. Performance-wise, you'll hear people say it's a compromise antenna. Yes, it is. I would put its performance higher than like the little 48-inch whips that a lot of people like to use, like say a Elecraft AX1, AX2, or Comet FHJ 350M or whatever that one is. Some of those like really loaded, shortened telescopic whips, it's better than that. Gable GRA 7350T, TC, different models of it, is an 8-foot whip, ham sticks, that type of antenna where it's 7 or 8 feet long, loaded vertical. I would say that the performance on this, on 40 through 20 meters or so, is about the same as you would expect from a ham stick or from a antenna like the Gable. So it's comparable to me. Now, I am not giving you scientific numbers and efficiencies and those kinds of things. Just from my personal experience, I've used the Gable antenna. It's great. It is an 8-foot whip, and it performs like an 8-foot loaded whip, and this performs very similarly. So it's not going to blast a 100-watt signal through a full-size antenna and be heard 5.9 everywhere type of deal. But you can operate QRP through this, and you're going to make contacts, just like you would if you use a ham stick or the Gable 8-foot whip. It's going to be very similar to that. Another one of my favorite antennas is the Chelegance MC750. I would put this antenna's performance slightly under that. So the Chelegance is going to outperform it, especially on 20 meters and higher bands than that, where the Chelegance is a full-size quarter wave vertical. It's going to perform better than a magloop. But all in all, given the convenience factor and given the size of it and the low profile setup that it creates, I would say the AlexLoop is a good trade-off. Now, here's another point. When you are operating Parks on the Air, Summits on the Air, any of the on the airs where you have a spotting page, folks know where you are because you're spotted, and they're looking for you, aka hunting you. Therefore, even if you don't have a super efficient, powerful setup, people are going to find you. And I would argue that the number one thing to make more contacts is not the efficiency of your antenna and the power your radio is putting out. I would say the number one thing is amount of time you're on the air. So if you have an antenna that allows you to be on the air quicker and for longer, and breakdown takes less time, then I would argue that an antenna like that will, in a lot of cases, produce more contacts for you. With this antenna, I normally average, depends on the band, depends on conditions. Today, I think I operated for about 40-something minutes, and I got 20 contacts. That's one every 2 minutes. It's a pretty good rate. If you wanted to, at that rate, get 100 contacts, it would take a few hours, obviously. I think as the day progresses, if I moved up to 20 meters, 17, 15, this antenna becomes more efficient, for one thing, on those bands. And then it would probably result in a faster QSO rate. But anyway, the point being, the more time you're on the air, the more likely you are to make more contacts. So that's kind of my opinion on that matter. Efficient antennas are great, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you should always use compromise antennas, but I am saying that for things like Parks on the Air where you are the DX, you can really get away with using a compromise antenna in a lot of scenarios, especially if it enables you to get on the air, makes you more likely to get on the air, and lets you be on the air longer. You're going to make the contacts that you need. A lot of times I only have an hour from the start to finish of Parks on the Air activation. So if it took me 20 minutes to set up my antenna, 20 minutes to break it down, that only leaves me 20 minutes on the air. With this, I can have it up in 5 minutes. I can break it down in 5 minutes. So if I have a total setup and breakdown time of 10 minutes, that gives me 50 minutes on the air. I'm going to make more contacts, if you see where I'm going with that. So just some simple thoughts for you. Anyway, I am not sponsored in any way by AlexLoop. I am just a big fan of the products. So Alex has commented on a few of my videos. So if you see this, hi Alex, good to see you. Thank you for making such a great product. I am not sponsored in any way, but I am saying that if you want to try a magloop antenna, I highly recommend the AlexLoop. I don't know if your experience will be the same if you use something else like the Alpha or Chameleon. Maybe they're great antennas. I haven't tried them. I can't tell you if they're as reliable and easy to use as the Alex, but I can tell you that the AlexLoop is an excellent option. So, all right, with that, I am going to sign off and look for future videos of me using the AlexLoop antenna, and hope this has been some helpful information for you if you're thinking about buying one. All right, 7-3 from W4ARB.